A deep, slow sigh drifts through the quiet morning air. A whisper of wind brushes the empty street. On a quiet city street, a modern shop stood, modest yet precise in its design. It wasn't luxurious, not at all, but it bore the subtle fingerprint of its owner. Shelves aligned with meticulous care, colors that whispered in harmony, and the warm, woody scent of polished timber rising gently, like a soft melody of calm. The faint creak of the wooden floor beneath his steps, a soft chime from the shop door as it moves with the breeze. The young shopkeeper moved among his wares with careful diligence, arranging, straightening, smiling politely at those who entered. And yet, inside him, a quiet stillness lingered. A stillness so deep it bordered on boredom, a life without surprises, without storms, without the sudden flare of something new. No grand events disturbed his days, no unexpected moments to make his heart quicken. A successful routine, smooth and predictable. A successful routine, smooth and predictable, but without a pulse that stirred the soul, without a rhythm that quickened his own. The soft ticking of a wall clock, almost inaudible, echoing like distant raindrops on glass. And then, one ordinary morning, like any other, the shop's bell jingled in a way that sliced through the monotony. A woman stepped inside, unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her presence seemed to bend the air itself, and the faint scent she carried, something floral yet wild, made the quiet shop feel suddenly immense, alive with a delicate tension. The whisper of silk, a distant city horn, the flutter of a bird outside, all blending into a symphony of awakening. He looked up, heart stuttering, and for the first time in a long while, he felt the subtle tremor of life, the invisible music of possibility, the gentle pull of a new story waiting to unfold. Another long sigh escapes him, this one lighter, warmer, as if the world itself is lighter, warmer, as if the world itself is exhaling alongside him. And somewhere softly, a distant violin begins its solitary soaring note, the first note of a melody that will not soon end. She entered with the air of a woman who knew her place, an elegant engineer from a refined background, her steps measured, her silence commanding respect. She wore a business suit, carrying a file in her hands, but her passage through the store door wasn't that of a mere customer. It was the beginning of a story. She paused before a shelf, examining the products as if studying an architectural design. The salesman approached her to ask what she needed, and she turned to him with a quiet, brief, beautiful smile, the first impression he had of her. Their conversation was brief, a question, an answer, a simple thank you. Yet, when she left, something remained suspended in the air. The salesman felt he had seen a face he would never forget, and the engineer felt that this place would not be a one-time visit. The engineer felt that this place would not be a one-time visit. A few days passed. Then the engineer reappeared in the shop. This time she wasn't in a hurry. She wandered around slowly, as if waiting for something, or perhaps someone. Then came a third and a fourth. It was clear that the visits were no longer solely for professional purposes. The shopkeeper, without realizing it, began to treat her with special care, arranging things before she entered and paying closer attention to his voice when she spoke to him. As for her, she saw him as something different. His calmness, his modesty, his respect, the way he managed his shop, all of this touched a part of her that no one else had. Between visits, the conversations began to expand. Work, ambition, family, pressures, projects, and the small details of life that one only shares with those with whom one feels comfortable. But despite all this, neither of them said, "I love you." The words were too big, and the fear was even bigger. Months passed, and a hidden anxiety settled between them. The merchant was successful, respected, and had his own business, but his social class didn't allow him to reach her level of affluence.
The engineer lived a life of luxury, but she didn't see the difference as others did. She saw him first and foremost as a man. Their attachment grew stronger, but silence reigned. Each waited for the other to speak first, until that day came. The merchant, after a long struggle, decided to confess to her. Finally, he prepared himself, arranged his words, and disappeared for a whole day to gather his courage. But he didn't know that that very day was her wedding day. As for her, in the most complicated moment of her life, the moment she wore a dress she didn't know would suit her heart, she chose to search for him. She went to a place beneath her social standing, a harsh and difficult place compared to her luxurious world, a place he knew, and just entering it was an inner cry, "Where are you?" But the merchant wasn't there, and that was the first profound heartbreak.
The next day, the merchant returned to his shop, brimming with the courage he had gathered. When he saw the engineer, he approached her and told her everything. He told her what he hadn't said in months. He laid bare his heart without fear. He was honest, clear, and full. But the engineer stood still. She didn't reply. She didn't explain. She didn't say she was a bride. She didn't say that yesterday was the day she entered a new life imposed upon her. She heard his confession and let her silence be her answer. Her silence was another confession, but a wounded one. 10 days passed, and then the merchant learned of her marriage to her friend. She didn't tell him. She couldn't. Perhaps because she didn't want to be the one to extinguish the last spark between them. Perhaps because she didn't want to be the one to extinguish the last spark between them. A month passed. There was no contact between them, until the day the engineer entered the shop again. She was different. There was something in her eyes, something unfathomable, a slight sadness, or perhaps longing, or maybe a final attempt to reassure herself that she would be able to see this place without breaking. She approached the shopkeeper and said in a low voice, "I want decorative roses." It was a simple request, but behind it lay a whole world of pain. The shopkeeper replied, "Do you mean dried roses?" Then there was a heavy silence, so heavy, as if the whole world had stopped between them. Neither of them could add another word. The encounter was too much to bear. The engineer left the shop, and with her departure, a whole chapter of their lives left with her. And from that day on, they never met again. This is not a tale of betrayal, nor a tale of cowardice, nor a tale of a man who lost a woman. This is a tale of love that was complete within, but time lost it from the outside. A love that lived, then faded, then remained as an indelible memory, without tears, but with a depth understood only by those through a relationship that never truly began, even though it ended.